You have a Taramps for your subwoofers? Is your bass not sounding good? Are you having clipping problems? Is it going into protect? Is it a good amp, period? Do you feel that no matter how well you set your amp, it is just not giving you the bass that you're looking for? Stick around for the full video. I'm going to give you a few tips, share a few experiences I've had with the Taramps for bass, give you an idea how to set your amp so you can go back, set your amp a little bit, and get the bass out of it. So stick around, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let's get it. Before we even get started on the video, I'm just going to be flat out honest with you guys. I'd rather just keep it real with you guys so you know what you're getting yourself into when you decide to go ahead and purchase your first Taramps. They are a little bit complicated to adjust and to deal with. There's so many factors that have to, when you finally decide to purchase one for bass. They're very, very power hungry. They do not like high RCA input. They are very, very hard to adjust and find its sweet spot. But once you actually go ahead and have worked out a lot of the bugs when you are installing this amp, voltage, the right settings, and just understanding the amp period, the Taramps, guys, it is gonna be a monster. Definitely be impressive, and then you're gonna be like, dang, you know, you're gonna go ahead and make sure other people go ahead and grab Taramps for themselves. Now, I have been using Taramps for bass for a little bit over a year now. I started off putting a 1200 watt bass series amp in a build that I did, and it was just only 1200 watts on 410 kicker VRs, I think. It sounded really good, good clean power. But once I actually got into my build, we went ahead and decided to put a MD 5000.1 for the bass. So I actually had to just jump on, get the amp, but little did I know what I was getting myself into. I am still doing a lot of testing and tuning with this amp to go ahead and dial it in, but I think I've pretty much figured out the basics of it to go ahead and be able to drop this video for you guys so you can understand a little bit more if you guys decide to jump in. After a year of myself using a higher power Taramps for bass, even till this day I am still trying my best to do experiments with it, and this past week I have learned a lot about this amp, enough knowledge that I can go ahead and be able to drop this video for you guys to give you an understanding and what factors come into play and how to somewhat adjust it so you get the best bass out of your sound system. Today we will be using my 412 Sundown subwoofers to go ahead and adjust the amp to them. I will be giving you a quick rundown of the adjustments and pretty much a good simple way how to adjust the amp so you know you can get the best output out of her. We will be discussing clipping light and the protect light as well too, and I will be setting the amp to the point where the amp is clipping like crazy and it goes into protect, just so you can see with your eyes how much gain it takes for it to actually start clipping and how much gain it actually takes for it to go into protect, and you can see all that stuff with your eyes, and then we can go ahead and start, you know, readjusting it so it actually sounds pretty good and plays without cutting out. Now we will be adjusting the Taramps to the specifications of my build itself, which is I have the Taramps and I have dual aux gauge input, so that's actually pretty good. Like I said, these things are very massive power hungry, so as much as power you can feed it into these guys, battery wise and wire wise, man, go ahead and do it, because it's never going to be overkill. It's actually going to be underkill. If they actually made what are these things called, if they actually made reducers with 4 inputs, man, I would go ahead and do it, man, because it's never too much power for the Taramps, man. The more the better. Another factor that I gotta keep in mind when I adjust my amp, and you should keep in mind too when you adjust your sound system, so these are actually 500 watt subs, maybe 750 watts. It's very obvious that 5,000 watts is actually a little bit too much power for them, but let's be realistically speaking, they do the dyno tests with those amps and they show you how much they are. But me, I'm an old school car audio type of guy. That's why I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to tune it with your ear. So don't let the fancy tools hold you back from getting your sound system to get loud, because it is possible, guys. How do you think everybody did it from, you know, the late 2000s, from mid 2000s to the 90s, guys? So don't let no one fool you and tell you that you need this and you need that to go ahead and get the sound system done. all you need is a good ear. The speakers will talk to you and let you know what they're feeling. And once you feel comfortable, the way how you got your sound system adjusted, man, enjoy it. Back to what I was saying. So if this amp says it's an MD5000.1, in reality, it's got to be cool 4,000 watts, guys. You know, let's just be realistic, you know, about it. You know, if it says 5,000 watts, it's probably 3,800 watts to maybe 4,200 watts. Still overkill for the 412 Sundown subs. They are entry levels, but I feel that's good enough power for those subs. Man, Sundown designs badass subwoofers to handle the power and the abuse. And the Taramps MD5000.1, it is very perfect for it. And the other day, I actually went ahead and just tested out to see what my 412s would sound like on this MD3000.1. It was definitely no contest, guys, man. You know, I want to have that 5000.1 hooked up. I need that 5000.1 hooked up. Them Sundowns want that 5000.1, so we're gonna make it work. So I have 500 watt subs. I got dual aux gauge inputs. I am running my factory alternator. I'm actually doing my research, and I am gonna purchase a nicer alternator. I want to do probably like a 400 amp alternator. So drop down in the comments, let me know what you guys think, what alternator I should go with. I do want to be in the 400 amp category because I am going to do quite a bit more upgrades and I need all the power I can get. Along the side right here, I have 4 ER energy batteries. They are little, guys, but listen, guys, man, they pack the power and they definitely do the job here because it's not that my truck is not basing out and it clips out like crazy. It's just, man, the Taramps just want more power, guys. And I'm going to definitely give it to her probably like in the next month or so. But, you know, I got to work with what I got at the moment. So right now, the Taramps is really much coming from EQ. Then it's actually going directly into the Taramps. And prior to today, going from EQ to line driver to bass doubler to Taramps. But I actually went ahead and deleted those things out in the previous video, and I actually went from EQ to PRV crossover to directly to Taramps. Even at that, I felt that it was still too much signal and it was not giving me the bass that I was actually used to, and actually the bass that I'm looking for. When I actually just had it connected from the EQ to the line driver to the bass doubler, which is like an epicenter, to the amp, man, this thing was banging. The bass was exactly what I was looking for because me, myself, I look for a specific bass. I have done so many sound systems in the past. I know the type of bass that I look for. It loves that strong, aggressive, smooth bass, guys. Sometimes you get hearing cars and you'll hear like the cone. You'll hear the bass is being forced out. It's hitting all the notes, but it's just like not smooth, guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm very big on smooth bass. You know, the Sundown subwoofers, they produce a lot of smooth bass, and with the Taramps behind it, man, that thing is dropping some serious punches. With me eliminating the line driver, the epicenter, and the crossover, I really reduced it down to pretty much almost nothing as RCA input, so that's actually a good factor. And I actually had my line driver hooked up to the amp. The gain on the amp was not turned up as much, so it wasn't really forcing the amp to put a lot of work in. So it was actually keeping my amp nice and cool. But, you know, it was just flooding it with so much signal that the clipping light would just go crazy. One thing I have learned with this Taramps in the last few days, and even in the comments, we've had people comment on the video, man, Taramps do not like high RCA input, and that is definitely a fact, guys. That is definitely a fact. And I'm going to get into more facts from my experience and what others have told me about the Taramps that are like dead on facts that they do not like. And you got to keep all that stuff in mind so you can go ahead and get the best adjustments and make sure that your amp is producing the best output for your subwoofer bass. Another thing too with these Taramps, before I actually had the amp sitting down on the actual floor of this amp rack, but I actually put some nuts on there to raise it up just a hair, just to allow airflow. Although it does have like holes right here to let the air out, but that amp still somewhat gets blocked by the seat you see. And then once I actually close the door, all that heat just gets stuck right here like a pocket. So the amp would get hot here and there, and even more when I'd be jamming on it, it's going to get it more hot. And your boy lives in Florida, man. Look at them palm trees, man. Look at that sky. It looks beautiful, but it's very, very hot. So the combination of me jamming like crazy and it being so hot out, man, it's just gonna get that amp to cook, man. I could cook some eggs on top of that thing. Lifting it up, making sure that I have enough power going to it. It's definitely gonna help keep the amp cooler. And you know, adjusting it right will actually keep it from it working so much and keep it cool at the same time. So let's go over a few things you need to know before you start adjusting your amp. So the amp actually has aux gauge inputs for the battery power, but you could actually go ahead and fit reducers in them, so you can put dual aux gauge. Some people just put a single aux gauge. Man, I actually went ahead and put 2 of them in there, so I know that I have good power. So you have your RCA input, and then you have your speaker input. I have 10 gauge running for my speaker input, so I know I got all that juice going all the way out to them subs, man. Some of you guys are probably car audio guys if you're watching this video, so you already pretty much know what these settings are, but we'll actually go ahead and give a quick rundown. So the gain, that just determines how much power we're putting onto the amp. It is not a volume. It is just a quick adjustment to throw power to your subs. We have our high pass, which, you know, this amp right off the bat, it is a full range amp. You can either use it for vocals or for bass. I am actually using it for bass at the moment. One thing that I actually have learned in these past few days, Taramps, unless you have a massive, you know, lithium bank, battery bank, whatever you want to call it, the bass boost is definitely not going to be your best friend whatsoever. It is definitely going to cause your amp to go into clipping, and it's definitely going to go into protect. You know, I would recommend for you guys not even to touch it one bit whatsoever, guys. Well, definitely keep that in mind when you go ahead and start adjusting it. You know, like I said, if you have a nice battery bank, you know, the bass boost is going to do all right for you. But if you do not have that, man, definitely do not even touch that. And here we have the on indicator, we have the clip indicator, and then we have the protect indicator. Once we actually fire this guy up, this is going to light blue. And then once you are jamming on it like crazy, depending how high you got your amp, this will probably like blink very faintly, or maybe not blink at all, or maybe just blink, you know, like rapidly. When you got it blinking rapidly, that means that thing is just alerting you and letting you know, like, hey, back down just a tad bit, you know what I'm saying? But if you continue jamming on it like crazy and pump up, you know, your sub volume up and pump the gain up way too much and got too much signal going in, man, this thing is going to blink like crazy, and then this is just going to shoot to red, go into protect, and shut the amp off completely. That is exactly what you do not want to happen to you guys, man. You want to be able to go ahead and adjust that amp, find its sweet spot so that thing just bangs like crazy, as loud as you want to put your sub volume up, and for as long as you guys want to do it to the point, you know, that's handling, you know, your battery power and your subs. So I actually have my small flathead that I will be using to adjust this amp, and right now we are going to get into adjusting the amp. Then after we somewhat adjusted the amp somewhat, man, we're going to go ahead and get down with the sound system and let you guys see what these lights do. This is a very, very, very big tip that I'm going to actually go ahead and give you guys. You have to know what your sound system does. How loud is it? You know, in which form is it loud? You know what I'm saying? If I'm confusing you, I'm going to go ahead and give you an example. When I'm jamming my sound system with all 4 doors open, like the way they are right now, it is very, very loud. You can actually feel the bass here. But once I actually go ahead and close the doors, I close the doors with the rear windows down, I am actually keeping pressure in, and these windows are just allowing air to release out, so it is jamming like crazy. Jams like crazy as well too when I have the 2 front doors open as well too. When I actually roll my windows up, man, my bass, you know, multiplies and gets even freaking louder, guys. Like, you have no idea. When I give bass demos to get the truck even louder, I actually go ahead and I tell people to sit in the front seat, and then I actually go ahead and I close the door with the windows up in the rear, leave that window down. As funny as it sounds, even this front window rolled down with the front one rolled down and this door open, man, the bass gets even 4 or 5 times louder and deeper. With me knowing what my sound system does with little things like that, that gives me an idea how to set my amp. Go ahead and close my door the bass will actually drop down a little bit, and if I go ahead and I adjust my amp with the door being closed, I'm actually putting more gain and more input into the amp to produce, you know, more output out that amp, and I'm just, you know, over adjusting it, so it's gonna, you know, work a lot more, and it's very strong possibility. It's going to be a strong possibility that the amp will definitely go into clipping and then it go into protect. I go to a lot of shows and I actually let a lot of people sit in my truck to hear the bass, so I adjust it to where the point that I know where I'm going to flex the most with it is going to be the way with the front door closed, the front passenger door closed, the rear doors closed with the windows up, front windows down, and that door open. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the amp to I get the best output from that, you know, setup. Even though I'm sitting inside here driving in my truck wherever I'm going and the bass is beating, but it's not beating as loud. But once your boy hops out this truck and I throw that door open on you and you're sitting in the passenger side, man, that bass is just gonna slap the shit out of you. I'm not even playing. With me knowing what my truck does with the bass and how it performs best with the bass, I am going to adjust it to that point. You know, so what if I'm driving inside it and it's not banging as hard with that door open? But just like I just said, man, if your boy throws that door open on you, man, that bass is just going to slap the shit out of you. Very important for you to know what your truck and your sound system setup does, or your bass setup does, so you can go ahead and take all those things into consideration when you adjust your Taramps, because every little thing like that matters, guys. Every little thing like that matters. I'm going to actually do a quick pre-adjusting on it, and then I'm going to put the camera on these lights so you guys can see what it does while I'm, you know, adjusting it. My main thing is, so I know that I can get away with it clipping lightly, but if it's clipping rapidly, it's definitely going to throw the amp into protect, and that's what I'm not looking for. And your boy has already deleted so many possible RCA signal inputs to where the point where it's just from EQ to amp, so it's very the bare minimum, guys. We're going to go ahead and somewhat set this guy just a little bit, and then once we actually turn this guy up, we can start adjusting it really good to some music. So let's go ahead and turn the level all the way down. The high pass all the way down too, because it's for bass. The low pass, we're going to drop it all the way. The bass boost, definitely all the way. I do not want no bass boost whatsoever, guys. So I actually like some nice smooth bass. So the frequency, it is the lowest point, it says 90, but we're just going to put it up a hair. And now we are going to put the gain of the amp up probably just a quarter way, just so it can make some sound when we turn this guy up. If I were to go ahead and adjust it to where the seats are up and not the actual blow through being seen, it's pretty much I'm going to be adding way more power than what I'm supposed to. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this guy down just so a majority of the blow through is exposed. I'm going to go ahead and close all my doors and put the windows up as well too. I will be setting up the camera inside here, and hopefully the bass doesn't knock it down, so you guys can keep an eye on the clip light indicator and the protect indicator so you can see what it does while we're adjusting it. So while music is actually playing and the bass is actually going up, I'm going to go ahead and be turning the gain up some and down some, to show you how much gain it takes to go ahead and make the clip light blink like crazy and then go into protect. Hopefully doing that we don't blow nothing out, but you know, if it does, oh well, you know what I'm saying, it's good information for you guys to see with your eyes what these amps do. Now I will set my sub volume up probably like 3/4 of the way, and I will set my volume on my radio up probably like 3/4 of the way, just so I know like that's my cutoff point, and then just slowly come in with the Taramps and bring that gain level up to where it finds its sweet spot and it's not clipping out and going into protect. That was actually pretty good. I was gaining the amp, and then I was turning up the volume of the radio up as well too, but there was a point where I was actually turning up the volume up a little bit more past than the 3/4 way mark. The amp started blinking the protect light very faint, so that went ahead and told me to go ahead and keep this up, because it's more than likely that your boy will do that eventually. So I actually just went ahead and backed it down a hair down more, and then that was able to bring down the protect light from coming on, period, and the clip light would just faintly blink. What I'm actually going to do is we're going to probably repeat that same method that we just did, but now we're actually going to come down a hair down on the level and maybe just turn up the bass boost a hair just to give it a little bit more solid bass. And the amp is not really that hot. You do hear the fan a little bit, but some people complain that the fans on the Taramps are crazy loud. But you know, this is real live time action. It's not as loud as people make it seem like. You know, it's doable. But let me go ahead and tell you guys that what we just did was probably the best adjustment I have done on my truck just yet. The thing is producing some crazy bass, and the clip light is barely blinking, but it's definitely not making it go into protect whatsoever. I feel like I found the sweet spot that I was looking for, the Taramps. I eliminated every single thing possible that would actually feed a lot more signal into it. So we found it's actually a real nice sweet spot. Man, let's check the settings out to see how much gain is up on the level. So the amp is actually halfway level up, which is actually a good thing, so we're not actually overloading that guy up and trying to spit as much as power as possible. The bass boost is probably a little bit underneath halfway. All the frequencies are down, and as you can see with the way we actually have that setting right now, the amp is barely even turning that clip light on, and nowhere is it going into protect. Adjusting these Taramps can be very hectic, complicated, and make you rethink on your purchase of the Taramps. But that's why, you know, you got to test and tune. You got to get to know your sound system. And, you know, once you actually dial her in, man, she's definitely going to make sure that you go ahead and buy another Taramps for another build, or recommend someone else to buy one, because this thing will put out some mad power, and for the dollar you can't go wrong. So with everything that we just did and everything I just said, man, we're gonna go ahead and end the video off with this truck jamming. Let's see what it does. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope that helps answer a few questions. Feel free to drop down any comments about the amp, or you know, any questions if you have. Man, definitely subscribe to the channel. Hit that like, man. 100 likes or better. Don't forget, we are on the road to 10K subscribers. Once we actually hit 10K subscribers, we will be giving away a pair of 10-inch Sundown E-Series subs for free to any of you guys. Let's go ahead and enjoy some bass, man. That's what we're here for. I'm moving you, or you can't even get. I keep a stick, we putting trackers on cars. But when we open up a chain, I was in Tennessee, leaning, nigga, feeling. Take a rear. I keep a stick, we putting chains. When they drop, it's like all these bands free. All wanna VR. So I need VR1.